So welcome to your French Basics course with FrenchUnplugged.com. If you're an absolute beginner, this is really the basic foundation where you have to start, the French personal pronouns. Here they are. I is je. Repeat after the video. Je. You will be tu. He is il. She, elle. We is nous. You, vous. They is il. They for feminine, elle. So here we come to the first problem we have to address in French, the fact that they have two options for the pronoun they, unlike in English. The French are obsessed with gender, so you will have a lot of problems with gender when you learn French. So here you have two forms for they. Il version is for when you're addressing when you're talking about two men, or if you're talking about a group of people who are mixed gender, then the masculine form takes over. And the form elle is used only if you're talking about a group of women, only women. You will also notice here that there is not a pronoun corresponding to the pronoun it in French, and this is because all the nouns in French language have a gender. There is no neutral gender. Everything has a gender in French. There are, however, some other pronouns which are not covered here, as this is really the basics and foundation, and they will be addressed in one of the following videos. Now let's take a look at pronunciation and some basic reading rules. Let's see first the pronoun je, which means I. Here what you can remember is that E is never pronounced at the end of the word, especially if there is no accent, as in this E, which is written with an accent. So if whenever you see E without any accents, you know you did not pronounce it. As for the letter J, it is pronounced as je. And here you have two different ways of writing phonetic transcription. But maybe it's easier for absolute beginners to think about a sound or a letter or a word you know which has a similar sound, like giraffe or Givenchy as a brand. So it's never, ever J or J as in John. Now let's move on to tu, you. Well, T is easy. It's just T, as in English. Maybe it's a little bit softer. But the letter U is quite a difficult one because it denotes a sound in French, which is U, a French semi-vowel, or as I like to call it, the kissing E. So how do you approach this kissing E? How do you pronounce it? First, you have to place your lips as if you want to say ooh, but you have to exaggerate as if you want to kiss someone, and then say E. The result is something between E and oo, but never just oo or E. It's basically U. So when you think how to put your mouth, think of pouting lips and celebrities and selfies. So you really have to make a funny face, something like this, to put your mouth like this. Ooh, but then say U. Now, when you have covered this, let's move to the next slide. Il or he, there are no really problems here, so we won't talk much about it. And elle, she. So in elle, we've learned that the first E now, although there are no accents, is read as A. And this is a kind of a rule you can remember when followed by two L's, E will be read. And the last E is not pronounced. It's a kind of a rule which we will have in all the words. Now, here we can address one more question. For some people, it's difficult to remember which is il, which is el, which is masculine, which is feminine. And here are some suggestions. When you think of feminine and el, you can think of a person called El, like Elle Fanning, or think of Elle, magazine for women. So Elle is obviously she. So let's review the singular form of the pronouns. Je, tu, il, elle. Now try on your own and say it out loud. How do you say I? Did you say je? How do you say you? Tu, he, il, she, elle. So je, tu, il, elle. Now let's move on to plural forms. So nous, vous, il, elle. Nous, in this pronoun, which means we learn another rule that S is never pronounced at the end of the word. So we don't say nous or nous or whatever, we just say nous. And the combination of the letters OU is just a regular U. Unlike the U, which is U. Vous, well, vous is one special pronoun in French because it can denote plural, so talking about people in plural, but it can also be used in singular form when and it's used when you're addressing someone in a formal way. And again, when it comes to pronunciation, the S is never pronounced at the end, and OU combination is U, vous. Il is they for masculine or misgender, which we've already discussed. And again, S is never pronounced at the end, which makes it a little bit difficult to distinguish between il as a singular and il as a plural. So basically, the only way will be to distinguish between the forms of the verbs, as il and il, singular and plural, sound exactly the same, although they are written in a different way. Elle is they for feminine. Again, the S is not pronounced, which makes it sound exactly in the same way as elle for singular. So let's revise. Nous, vous, il, elle. In all cases, the S's, which are blue here, are not pronounced. So can you do it on your own? Please say the pronoun and then repeat after you hear the form in French as well. So how do you say we? Did you say nous? How do you say you for plural? Did you say vous? How do you say they for masculine? Il. And how do you say they for feminine? Elle. Now let's look at them all together once again. Je, tu, il, elle. Nous, vous, il, elle. Now let's take a look at a few more points here. Je can appear in a form with J and apostrophe before vowels. And also there is one important thing we have to mention here. These pronouns will sound slightly different when they're followed by a word which starts with a vowel. Now, all you have to do is practice, practice, practice before you can move on to your next lesson on the verb to be or être. So, before you move on, please do some exercises below.